Jitterboo jitterbug. Hello there, my name is Colin, and welcome to the Filmmaker Files. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about sound. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to audio, but I do really enjoy the process of recording sound and editing it. I think it's really fascinating how sound interacts with visuals to really tell a story. It tends to be one of those things that most new filmmakers kind of put on the back burner. It becomes a secondary focus. But ironically, with an audience, it becomes the first thing they notice when you have bad audio. So for the next couple weeks, we're going to be doing a two-part series talking about how to set up recording audio and then how to actually go out and record it. So first up, let's talk about just the camera's microphone. This is the sound coming straight out of the onboard microphone for my Canon T4i, which I use for all of my YouTube stuff. And as you'll probably notice, it's not the greatest. Obviously, it's a stereo microphone, so it's just kind of picking up all the sounds around it. It's not really directional. Now, luckily, I'm in a pretty controlled environment, but if I were outside, for instance, on a windy day, you'd pretty much just get a bunch of sound. Not the good sounds, though. So let's go back to my other microphone. Much better. Now, other than the fact that the microphone on most cameras is just a big old dumpster fire when it comes to quality, there's one other reason why it's not going to do a very good job in terms of picking up what you want it to, and that is because the distance. If you're filming something that's a little bit further away, it's going to pick up all the sounds in between. Different microphones are designed for different things. They all have different kinds of patterns. I'm not going to get super deep into that today. You're going to want something a little bit more directional when it comes to picking up something like dialogue or an interview. So let's start with the most basic and cheapest solution, and that is a lavalier microphone. Lavalier mics clip on directly to your talent, whether it be for an interview or dialogue in a film. Even something like YouTube right now, like this, I could be using a lav mic to One of the things that makes this option so budget friendly is you can plug it into something like your phone and get good quality audio. Just slip the phone in your pocket, hide the cord underneath your clothes, and there you go. You've got much better audio that's way closer to your subject. If you wanted to kind of go a step up from there, you could buy a field recorder such as a Zoom H1 and plug the lavalier mic into that. That way you have a dedicated recorder. It's not going to be going into your phone. That way if you get a phone call, there's no, phone-ness about it. It also has a really nice high-quality stereo microphone on it that you can use later to record some background noise that you can put in underneath your dialogue in a film. Now, the biggest drawback to this system is that it's very hard to actually monitor the audio. It's all the way over on your talent, which may be a few feet from you, and if it's in their pocket, you're not going to be able to really listen to it as it's recording. So that's when we start adding a few things to our kit. Now, first up, I want to talk about shotgun mics. I currently own a Rode video mic. It's been with me for a couple of years. I love that thing. After buying it, one of the first things I did with it was mount it right on top of my camera, plug it straight in my camera, then stood 15 feet away from somebody and filmed them.
No, man.
I think my wife will leave me.
Yeah, that sucks.
And of course, it's not going to be much better than using my onboard microphone on my camera, because again, that distance that we talked about earlier. So how can we set up a shotgun microphone to better help us for something like this, for instance, or an interview? Right now I'm using a microphone stand, and then I'm running an extension cable up to my Zoom H1. Now, a lot of times I like to record audio separately. It gives me a little bit more control of it in post-production, but since I'm just recording this myself and it's for something like YouTube, I am running it from my Zoom H1 into my camera. Now, the reason why I'm running it into my Zoom H1 is because my camera does not have a headphone jack on it. So what I did actually was I bought a cheap little headphone splitter that's running out from it. One of them is going directly into the camera and the other one is going to my headphones. That way I can actually monitor the audio before I start shooting, check my levels, all that kind of stuff. And this is a very minimal setup, and the thing I like about it is that it saves me a lot of time in post-production in terms of having to match up the audio and the video. I don't have to do any of that. But now let's go on to our third and final setup. So here's all the things we're going to need. First up, our Zoom H1, our shotgun mic, a dead kit, and if we're going to be recording outside to cut down on wind, an extension cord, a handle or boom pole, a belt quick release, a mini ball head, and a belt. So the setup is really simple. First up, we're going to take our belt and put the quick release DSLR plate onto it. Onto that quick release plate, we're going to attach the mini ball head and our Zoom H1 recorder. Then we have a couple options on how we want to attach it to our Rode shotgun mic. If we're going more along the lines of Foley, then I would recommend attaching it to something like a small handle that can screw into the bottom of the Rode mic. If you're going to be focusing on recording sounds that are a little bit farther away, or for instance dialogue that people are moving around a lot, you can attach the shotgun mic to a boom pole. Now, I didn't come up with this idea myself. I actually found the solution on Vimeo. I'll link the original video down below. I ended up buying a couple cheaper components though, because the Zoom H1 isn't very heavy. If you were going with something like a Tascam DR40 or a Zoom H4n or something higher than that, then you're going to want a much heftier ball head mount and a much better quality quick release plate on your belt. Now, the thing I really like about this setup is if you do have a dedicated audio person who's running all of your sound, they have a quick and easy way to monitor audio and access all of the controls on the recorder. So that's all I have for you today. Those are my 3 basic audio setups that I use pretty much for everything that I do. Next week, we're going to be taking a look at behind the scenes from the last film that we shot, looking at how we used a couple of those setups for different situations, and giving you guys a few pointers on how to record audio for dialogue and for Foley. My name is Colin, and we'll see you next time.